Hello, and welcome to the Worst Movie Podcast. I'm Ade.
And I'm Aaron, and this is a podcast where we watch the worst movies ever made in the hopes of maybe finding a hidden gem.
Hope you enjoy. So today we're going to talk about Showgirls, the 1995 movie starring Elizabeth Berkley. It's part of our November theme of Naughty November. Quick reminder, Mom, do not listen this month.
Stay away.
I don't want to talk to you about these movies or these podcast episodes. You're not going to want to watch this movie. Trust me, for sure.
I just want to talk to strangers about it.
Yes. We'll have a more wholesome theme in December. Okay. We haven't taken this podcast in a permanent direction. This is just for November. So, Showgirls, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Elizabeth Berkley, Kyle MacLachlan, Gina Gershon. I'll drop a trailer in the show notes so you can get an overview in case you don't want to spend the 2 hours and change watching this movie. It was a long movie. Can't remember the exact runtime.
2 hours, 11 minutes, I think, is what I saw.
Yeah. This received a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.4 on Letterboxd. So this movie has resurged in popularity in the 30 years since it's been out. It was really just pummeled by critics at the time it came out, bombed at the box office, had a budget of $45 million, made $38 million in the box office, but went on to make $100 million on VHS and video. It's the first and only NC-17 film to be given a wide release in mainstream theaters. So definitely not taking your mom to see this. Seems like the sort of thing that audiences didn't want to go see in theaters, but we're more than happy to buy a VHS and put it on loop for reasons we'll get into. I guess before we dive in, what did you know about this movie? You're probably a little too young to remember this coming into theaters.
Yeah, I think I was 8 when this movie came out, so it was definitely in the off-limits section at the video store for me. Like I'd seen the cover art on the box and stuff, but I knew it was raunchy and that I wasn't allowed to watch it. So I hadn't seen it in the 30 years since.
So first time watch.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember it vividly. I was a senior in high school when this came out, and I guess that, dates me. I remember a couple of friends talking about going to see this in theaters the weekend it came out, and I did not join them, suffice to say, but I did watch this movie at some point in the past 30 years. I had a hard time remembering when I did or why I would have. It felt like it was probably well after 1995. If I had to guess, I would say I watched this some 15 years ago. I don't remember a lot of the movie, and especially some of the more explicit scenes. I don't really remember them going down that way. So I may have watched a edited version. I don't know if it was on TV, and there's an R-rated cut. I think it's also called the director's cut. So did you read much about the background of this movie?
Not really. I read about the NC-17 rating and how badly it did. That surprised me because I think that this is kind of a famous movie.
Yeah, I can't speak to all the criticism and discussion that happened when it came out, but I know at least 3 things made it really discussion worthy. One was the NC-17 status, and again, no other movie since then has been released wide with that rating. The second is the director, Paul Verhoeven, was coming off of Basic Instinct, and that was a tremendous success. He also directed Total Recall, RoboCop, so he had a lot of critical acclaim and box office success. Elizabeth Berkley was notable because she was coming off of her Saved by the Bell run. Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell?
A little. I was probably, again, too young to really be into it at the time because that was high school and I was definitely watching elementary school shows.
Cartoons.
So, yeah.
I mean, it was a little bit older, but it was still a Saturday morning TV show very
Right.
wholesome, in the era of the wholesome family sitcom of major problems being addressed in 20 minutes or less. I don't remember much about the show or her in particular, but it was notable. It was essentially the same sort of thing of like going from a Disney show to an NC-17 movie, big image shift for her. And so I think that was notable as well, just because of her starring in this.
Yeah, kind of similar to the career path that Jessica Biel took after Seventh Heaven. It was less extreme in her case, but she definitely stepped out of what was a really wholesome family show into more adult oriented movies and shows.
If I'm not mistaken, this was the first movie that Berkley starred in. So it was kind of her, I guess, coming out as a film actor.
What a doozy.
Yeah. So the director was well known, well accomplished. The writer as well. I don't know if I can pronounce his name. Joe Esterhaus.
That's how I'd say it. Yeah.
Okay. Joe. I can pronounce that. Joe. Also wrote Basic Instinct. He wrote Sliver, but I couldn't fact check this. But according to Wikipedia, at the time of this, his salary from this script and others made him the highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood history. And so, yeah, a lot of expectation for this movie. And again, critics hated it. And audiences did at the time too. So,
yeah, this was right in the middle of Paul Verhoeven's peak. It was like one banger after another. And then this kind of came out. They didn't love it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Berkley too, but I think this was her peak. Her debut and her peak, unfortunately. Okay, do you want to give us a quick overview of the story and we can start talking about the movie itself?
Sure. Elizabeth Berkley plays a character called Nomi Malone. The movie kicks off with her arriving in Las Vegas with dreams of becoming a showgirl. And she meets a woman named Molly, who is a costume designer for this hit show called Goddess at the Stardust. And Nomi gets a job stripping at a club called Cheetah's Club. And while she's there, she meets the star of the show Goddess, Crystal Connors, who's Gina Gershon's character. And there's kind of a bitter rivalry that kicks off between them. And she also meets Crystal's boyfriend, Zach, who's Kyle MacLachlan's character. And with his help, Nomi gets a spot in the show Goddess dancing and eventually becomes Crystal's understudy.
What do you think about the premise and the story in this movie overall?
I like the premise. I think that a story about a dancer trying to make it big in Las Vegas could be very interesting. There's definitely a lot to explore there with like the competitiveness and with other dancers and the seedy underbelly of Las Vegas and just show business in general. So I think that there's a lot that you can explore there. And as a premise, it's pretty solid, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the story itself is pretty sound and it's interesting. What burning questions did you have once you started to watch the movie?
There's this part where she's auditioning for the show Goddess, and the guy who is the show runner is this super creepy, sleazy guy. He's kicking girls out of the audition like it's a bodily function. He just gets rid of them. And then he gets it down to about 3 girls, and Nomi's one of them. And he's like, take your tops off. And they all seem offended. This is a topless show. What do they think they were auditioning for?
There are a lot of moments like this in the movie for me where I don't really understand what the characters were thinking was happening around them and why they're doing what they're doing. And there's so many moments where it's like Nomi's character is pissed off at somebody, and then the next scene she's fine. And I don't understand the flip-flopping of so many characters in this movie.
Yeah, and to give away a little bit of the ending, the whole movie she's dodgy about who she is and where she's from. And it's not really until the very end of the movie that we find out she's basically running away from a life of prostitution. And that explains why she reacts so negatively, because there's several times in the movie where the lead dancer, Crystal, says that she's a whore, or she calls her a whore. We're all whores. We're all, commodifying ourselves.
Selling our bodies for money in one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, and she gets really upset, and we don't ever know why until the very end. I think if we had known that sooner, it would have made a lot more sense. Throughout the whole movie, I'm like, why is she reacting so negatively to all of this stuff? It's not the worst thing I'm sure she's ever been called.
100% agree with you. One of my hot takes that I wrote down was this movie would be way better if they started out by introducing her backstory.
Yeah.
Seeing a character arc unfold on screen would just be much more compelling, and understanding where she was coming from, why she was running away from that. I mean, the answers to that are somewhat obvious. I'm not asking for like 30 minutes of the backstory, but even just 5 minutes. It starts with her on the road to Las Vegas, and we don't see any of that life before she goes to Las Vegas to become a dancer. So going back in the movie a little bit, it wasn't just her motivation around why she was so offended by certain scenes or actions and things like that. It was also just, where did this desire to become a dancer come from? And that is never explained. Also, it doesn't seem like she had any training or background. Like, even as a little girl, was she dancing? I can generally tell when somebody's a good dancer and a bad dancer, but I can't really talk about dance with any sort of intelligence. But the first time we see her dance is at this nightclub. What the fuck was that dancing?
It was extremely manic.
Yes, it was like, just very violent and jerky and not appropriate for the music, and
No.
not at all what anybody else in the club was doing.
No, it reminded me of Dee from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, it seemed like comedic dancing.
Exactly. Or Elaine with her, her like jerky motions.
A full body dry heave set to music.
And then it was just really confusing because we have a major character, James, come over, and he's just stricken by her dancing. You have so much talent. Yeah. You don't even know.
I know dancing. He's just a bouncer.
Yeah.
There.
She's supposed to be this great dancer. And yeah, we just never see where that drive comes from, why Las Vegas is this mecca for her or any of that stuff.
Yeah, there's a scene during the audition where the producer's asking the girls what training they have. And some of them have a lot of training, and they get to her and she's just like, fuck you, I don't have any. So like, I don't know if that's true. We don't ever learn, but yeah, she doesn't seem to have training.
So I'm not a dancer. You're not a dancer unless you have some secret talent. You haven't
I'm not going to reveal it here.
or told me in the 30 years I've known you. But I guess this is a common movie trope where an instructor is like, all right, here's the dance. 1, 2, 3. And then like all the dancers just start doing that exact same dance.
Get it instantly.
Yeah. Can dancers actually do that?
She never missed anything in the movie. Like she saw it once and then could do it perfectly.
Not only that, but like James, this guy she meets, he choreographs a dance for her. He starts showing her the dance, and then she just starts doing it with him, and
she knows it.
She knows it intuitively.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like it's also a trope where musicians like, okay, they listen to like 30 seconds of the song and they're like, all right, I got it. And like some of that is there's some repetition, but like this dance didn't seem like that.
Musicians do seem to be able to pick that up. I don't know if you watched the Beatles documentary when they were making their final album, but they were teaching their songs to the other Beatles, and it was impressive how quickly they picked it up and knew what it was going to be. So maybe it does happen with really talented people, but I don't know. The actress had a lot of training.
Yes.
In real life, Elizabeth Berkley.
And one good thing I can for sure say is she did seem to do the numbers really well. The first time we see her dancing, that was the only time that was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Berkley, I want to talk about her a little bit at the end. I felt watching this like she perfected a form of acting that I want to call tantrum acting.
Yeah.
Where there's so many scenes of her just flailing around and acting like a 5-year-old. Yeah. And she loses her suitcase and she's just like throwing herself on this car in a parking lot and banging on it and like just whipping her hair around and all that. I mean, like a 5-year-old would.
It's Molly's car. That's how she meets Molly.
Yeah. She meets this woman who lets her live with her and essentially gets her a job and all this stuff. Like, what would it take for you to give some random stranger in Las Vegas your couch to live on?
It would never happen. I would not do that.
Yeah. She seemed crazy. She takes her for a meal, which fine, and then she like throws a bunch of fries up in the air.
Did you see how she poured ketchup on it? She was just shaking it and it was flying everywhere. She also won a bunch of coins at the casino and just starts throwing them up in the air, which she throws a lot of things up in the air in the first like 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. I had a general question too of like, what's up with her and food? There's a scene where she gets a burger and the way she bites the burger is super weird. Like she's like almost like violently nibbling it. And
yeah,
and then she just throws it out of the car. She's taking 3 bites.
She throws her fries all up in the air too, because she just gets mad at the questions Molly's asking. They're not even like rude questions. They're like, where do you come from? And things like that. She's back east. And she throws her fries everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really manic. I've read some theories on her acting in this movie that it's intentionally manic and over the top, and I don't buy it. But some people seem to think it could be. I mean, I ultimately think that this movie is a satire, and her performance could be a satire of really performative sexuality and things like that, but I don't buy it. We should talk about James.
Yeah, so she meets this guy, James, and he's enamored with her talent. He kind of stalks her for a while. She's working at a strip club and he peeks in on her doing a private dance. And I wrote out, there's no way he's getting to the door there.
No.
And he like lingers for a bit before thankfully a bouncer said something. But I was like, this is not going to happen. And then there's this big scene where they're talking and his quote, I had to write it down. They're arguing and he says, I saw you. Man, everybody got AIDS and shit. You know, what is it that you think you do? You fuck them without fucking them. Well, that ain't right. What is this dialogue?
She's a stripper.
Yeah.
What do you think a lap dance is?
I don't understand why he's mad.
I don't either.
But he keeps pursuing her. So he stalks her to the strip club. He stalks her to her house. She like basically tells him to go to hell each time. Mm-hmm. And then finally she doesn't get the part. She thinks at the goddess show, and she comes out and he happens to be working as a valet there. And then he's like, let me take you for one of the best meals in town, which I guess is that burger she throws out the window.
Burger. Yeah.
This is another one of those points where she's like, okay. And they like walk off happily. And it's like, this guy's been stalking you and you've been mad at him this whole time. Like, what changed? Also, we talked about in our last episode, red flags. This dude, serious red flags, and he's not rich and he's handsome enough, but he's no Christian Grey.
No.
Let's just say that. Are you getting in the car with this dude?
No. I think that perhaps for women who are vulnerable, they might look for any port in a storm. Yeah. And maybe he seemed to be like somebody who would take care of her. So I don't know. I wouldn't have. I'd rather sleep on the street than go with this guy, but
I mean, she has somewhere to stay. It's not like,
yeah.
And so he takes her back to his place and then reveals that he's written the show for her, which couldn't he have said that from the, I mean, that would be way more compelling.
Yeah.
Everything he was doing was super creepy rather than just leading with like, hey, I think you're a great dancer. I'm writing a show and I want you to star in it. Like, that's the hook.
Start
that's
there.
That's how to get her back to your place.
That's the elevator pitch.
Yeah. But then it turns out he's a creep anyway. And he's doing this over and over with a bunch of different women. And then the storyline just kind of ends with him where he does put on the show. Is that show supposed to be good?
Well, the crowd hated it. They were booing and like throwing stuff and jeering. And even the MC was like, well, enough of that shit, on to the real dancing at the end of the performance. So I don't know if it was supposed to be good. She seemed to be upset that they were booing him. I don't know if that was just because she liked him or if she thought it was actually good.
Yeah, I just didn't understand their relationship at all, and it seemed to be all over the place.
Yeah, and there's a lot of time spent on this James storyline that ultimately doesn't pay off with anything. They don't get together. She doesn't even dance in his show that he wrote for her. And for a movie that is 2 hours and 11 minutes and doesn't really have much backstory for her character arc, they could have cut the James plot line entirely. I don't think it would have altered anything in the movie.
Nope, it didn't serve any of the main plot. It didn't serve any character development or insight or.
Yeah, if they had spent that time focused more on her backstory or just more of a character development for any of the other characters, because there's a lot of characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Too many to talk about, but if they had spent some more time on that and no time on James, I would have been pleased with that.
Yeah. Speaking of characters that I didn't understand their relationship, it's fair to say I didn't understand any relationship in this movie. So Nomi and James, I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I forgot her name. The friend that
Molly.
Yeah, Nomi and Molly. I guess that's more straightforward, but it was like, why is Molly helping this person who is terrible to her and several points like sabotages her job? But one of the biggest storylines is this relationship between Nomi and Crystal, she's the lead.
She's a big star.
Yeah, in this goddess show. I didn't understand their relationship at all. Every scene with them was hot cold. Like either they were fighting or they loved each other. It wasn't even like they hated each other and then by the end they grew to appreciate each other. It's like they hate each other and then Crystal gets her a job. They hate each other and then Crystal gets her the understudy audition. They hate each other and then that same day Nomi comes in and is all nice to her and then did you get it? What was this relationship?
I didn't get it. So I think that with hindsight, once we learn that she's fleeing from prostitution, we get that the insults at the beginning about her being a whore, like that upset her and justifiably so. But we don't know that. So the whole movie, I'm very confused about why she's so mad at her about everything. But then also it is unexplainable for why she flips and is like nice to her or why Crystal really does anything for Nomi.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
It's not clear why Crystal likes her. It's not clear why she hates her. At the end, it's not even like she was threatened by her. Nomi pushes Crystal down the stairs, injures her, takes her role in the show. And Crystal's like, yeah, I needed a rest anyway. Plus, I'm getting an insurance settlement. And they make out. Like, what? Like, what the fuck reaction is that?
Yeah, it was very strange. It was hard to understand the motivations for this. I think because they didn't spend any time on backstory and they spent so much time on James and other meaningless things.
Can we talk about the show a little bit? Goddess at the Stardust. Stardust isn't around anymore, unfortunately. What is the show? Would you see this show?
No, I mean I've never even been to a strip club, so I'm not I'm not into that type of thing. I took it as like a burlesque type show.
But they also have monkeys?
Yeah, but we don't ever see the monkeys in the show. They're just kind of running through the back dressing rooms and things.
One of my favorite scenes is when they're eating at Spago and 3 cowboy looking guys come over with programs for Goddess and ask Crystal to autograph them. Not really the type of guys that I would stereotype as being into dance, and like they're just walking around Vegas
or autographs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you spend a fair amount of time in Vegas. Can you name a single famous dancer in Vegas right now?
Does
I mean, just
Britney
ones you've
Spears
seen
count?
No, it doesn't count. Just like even the ones you see on the top of ads on cabs and stuff driving around. I can't remember. I see them all the time, but I can't remember a single one of them.
I don't think this kind of show exists anymore. I mean, it's all been taken over by Cirque du Soleil or musicians who have residencies who are well known. And yeah, I think all the dance type shows, they don't really have well known stars. They don't try to advertise the person who's starring in it. That seems like more of a Broadway thing.
Yeah. Vegas is definitely more family friendly now than it probably was in 1995 when this came out.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the Spago scene, real quick, one of my favorite quotes is Crystal takes Nomi to Spago, and Nomi sits down, does one of her tantrumy things with the menu. She like glances at the menu and just like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm like, okay, I've eaten at Spago. It's pizza, pasta, seafood, salad, like all the things you would expect.
One of my favorite parts in the movie is there's this scene of basically sabotage where one of the dancers on stage drops these like diamonds or crystals or something on the floor.
It's like marbles.
Yeah, essentially marbles. While they're doing this dance, it's men holding a woman above their head and spinning, and the man steps on the marbles and falls, and the girl busts her knee like really badly, and she's laying there on stage crying and holding her knee the whole time. And this like producer comes up at the end of the show and is checking her. She's feeling her leg and she goes, "Tell me when you feel something." And then there's like this crunch sound and she's like, "It's her knee." Like, we know it's her knee. She's been holding her knee for the last 20 minutes.
I don't know if you notice that it's a live show when she falls down and she's just writhing on the ground in pain. And then the next scene where the producer comes up,
still there.
The audience is gone.
Yeah.
Did they finish the show with her just right there?
I mean, I don't know. They didn't pull her off or anything. Like that's just how it's
cut. Yeah, everyone's still dancing around her, and then just they cut to the next scene, and she's in the same position.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, Vegas is cutthroat, I guess. Like, we'll call the paramedics after the show's done. Yeah, we've got to talk about the pool scene.
This is, I think, the one scene from the movie that I had seen before. Yeah, because I think it is famously campy.
If you're not watching the video, the look of dread on Aaron's face is priceless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she enters a relationship with what's his role? The talent director? No, I think entertainment director.
Yeah, director of some sort.
Not clear why she sleeps with him. Like, is she doing it for the part? She didn't even know that there was an understudy role.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
This is Kyle MacLachlan's character.
Yeah. How about you describe the scene?
Well, she gets a ride back to his place. They drink some champagne. They both get naked and get into the pool, which the pool was great.
Yeah.
They had these big neon palm trees around it, and I thought the set was really awesome.
Dolphin fountains.
Yeah. And she has sex with him up against the side of the pool, but she's just thrashing wildly through the water and like underneath the fountain. So she's just getting water poured into her face while she's thrashing around in the pool. It was wild. I don't know. I've never seen anything quite like that.
So before. You're saying you've never had sex like that before?
Definitely not.
Kudos to her for doing her own stunts. It seems like that would have hurt both of them.
Yeah.
Badly in different ways. I don't understand the direction in this.
It didn't look comfortable or erotic to me.
Yeah, if there's one scene from this movie that you should watch, it's this scene. Do you think the characters in this movie know what an understudy is? There's this big, I guess, plot point about, oh, maybe Nomi can be the understudy. But then Crystal gets mad and sabotages Nomi like she doesn't want an understudy. She's still the star of the show. Why does anybody care that there will be a new understudy?
Yeah, especially why does Crystal care? Like, I can understand the other girls in the show being really competitive for that role, but really there was no sabotage from the other girls. It was just from Crystal, which I don't know why she would even care. She's already helped this woman get the job and has kind of fostered her along.
Then there's another scene where all the producers are like, how long is Crystal going to be out? We can't shut down the show. The show must go on. let's take a gamble and make the understudy. I mean, like I feel like there wouldn't even be that conversation. You'd be like, oh, our star is hurt. Let's just have the understudy go on.
Plug in the person that we've already selected and trained for this.
Exactly. And then why was Nomi the new star instead of the understudy they did pick?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You might be right. They maybe don't know.
I'm overthinking it.
Yeah. I think you might be.
One of the first quotes I wrote down was some random guy at the slot machine.
I wrote that down too.
Yeah. Sooner or later, you're going to have to sell it. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Lose all your money, honey. Want to make some more? Won't take any more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Gross.
Like saying you're going to have to sell it sooner or later.
Yeah. Jeez. She's just in Vegas for a weekend to have some fun. She's not there to sell herself.
Man, I know we're not the right people to say this, but yeah, guys must be terrible.
Yeah. Another kind of funny dialogue that I wrote down was when Crystal and Nomi are having lunch, and Crystal says, "You have great tits. They're really beautiful. I like nice tits, always have. How about you?" And Nomi says, "I like having nice tits." Top-notch writing.
Yeah, that whole scene was full of top-notch writing. They start talking about food, and Crystal talks about how she used to love dog food, and Nomi says, "I used to love doggy chow too."
They both were talking about how much they loved doggy chow. Did they really both eat dog food in their past?
But it wasn't like, it could have made sense if they were each like, yeah, I was so destitute that I had to resort to eating dog food, but that wasn't what they were talking about, I guess.
It just seemed like they liked the taste of dog food.
Why the shade on Garth Brooks?
I don't know.
Right off the bat, the hitchhiker guy, the guy that picks her up.
So I'll tell you, there is a theory out there that Garth Brooks in real life is a serial killer.
Okay.
And that every town he goes to for like the last 30 years to do a show, there's been a disappearance or a murder that weekend or whenever he's in town. Maybe this is like we were warned in 1995 that he's that he's a creep and nobody heard it.
Yeah.
We're going to find out later that Garth Brooks is a serial killer and Showgirls tried to warn us.
Oh man, that would be excellent. What hot takes do you have?
So I did a lot of reading up about this movie afterwards because I wasn't sure how to feel about it, but I didn't hate this movie. And especially reading, like knowing about Paul Verhoeven's career, I was looking for satire and it was very subtle to me. But the movie portrays these really terrible values and traits of kind of American culture, like hedonism and misogyny, but they do it so earnestly that it's really hard to watch. So I think that there are a lot of interesting things that you could take away from this if you're looking for that, but I think that it was really subtle. And like I was halfway through the movie and I was like, I'm not getting the satire I was expecting. I was expecting RoboCop.
I didn't really get that. I can understand that somebody says that's there. It was like, yeah, the things that these characters are doing are terrible. But I mean, I think for it to be really effective satire, it probably helps to be able to relate to the characters and to hold up a mirror to yourself and to society, or to have a character that you can see the bad behavior through their eyes. And so it didn't show me anything that we don't all know. And like, it didn't show me anything about this world that either felt real or believable, or felt like, okay, now I get it. Like I have an insight into this world. And I mean, so part of that is I thought the acting was terrible. I thought the story was terrible. The dialogue was terrible. And so it didn't like put me in that world. I didn't watch this movie. I'm like, oh, now I finally see what it's like for a stripper behind the scenes, or for a dancer behind the scenes, a showgirl in Las Vegas. To compare, I guess this movie wasn't a satire, but The Last Showgirl came out. Was that last year with Pamela Anderson in the lead?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I didn't love the movie, but it was a very realistic portrayal, it felt like, of life behind the scenes for the Showgirls and Pamela Anderson's character in particular. Um, I felt like Jamie Lee Curtis was awesome in that movie. Her character and the realism that she brought to that, and just the feeling for her and that, that type of person. It transported me to that world. This did
Mm-hmm.
not. The whole time I'm like, what is she like? When you can't even eat a fucking burger like a normal person, it's hard for me to like, feel like these are real characters and teach me through them.
Yeah, but I don't think Paul Verhoeven's movies really ever have like super real characters. They're all kind of
Sure.
caricatures.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that I do agree with you though that I think that the characters are where this movie falls short. They're not believable or likable. And if they had spent that time they spent on the James storyline on making these characters likable or relatable or at least seem real, that it would have been more successful. It's not a perfect movie by any means, even if you take it through the lens of this is a critique of American society. I think they should have spent that time making us like the characters.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't good characters, if even if it wasn't a good guy or a good woman, like if we related to them or rooted for them in any way, I think it would have been better.
I mean, there are hundreds of movies that I've enjoyed with central and supporting characters that are terrible. Like they're no good likable characters in the movie, but that are much better movie. I mean, name
Mm-hmm.
any crime movie or gangster movie, and it's not like, oh yeah, I see myself in that person because of what he's doing, but it's like you see the humanity in them, or they just seem believable, and you're transported into that world.
Yeah, I think that that's what makes the difference between this, which is maybe a cult favorite, but not widely regarded as a great movie. And I mean, they're not movies, but like The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, where they're not likable characters, but you do, in a way, root for them or relate to them in a lot of ways. So I think that this movie could have been better if they took that approach. But I don't think that that is necessarily Paul Verhoeven's strong suit as a director.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the last point I'll make about satires, for me, maybe I don't appreciate subtle satire, but I feel like satire generally hits you over the head with how unrealistic the characters are. So to your point, in terms of like RoboCop or Starship Troopers, they're over the top, but it's clear like this is an over the top, surreal, fantasized world.
Mm-hmm.
Showgirls is presented as like a realistic world,
Yeah.
and so it's weird to call that satire when you're telling a story of just regular people. And maybe that explains some of Elizabeth Berkley's acting, is because her direction that she was given was to play it over the top, but like
Yeah.
the story wasn't over the top, and nobody else was as 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 she was just like left on an island with her performance.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure that I buy that her performance is intentionally over the top. I think that, in retrospect, you could maybe assign that quality to it, but I don't think it was intentional in the moment.
To spend a little bit of time talking about her, I feel bad for her as a person, because the short of it is this started her film career and ended it. She has
Mm.
not starred in a movie since this.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
She's had some supporting roles, and I think her PR team has gone to work on her Wikipedia, because in the career section after this mentioned several times how she spent time with such and such acting teacher, and it talks over and over about the acclaim she got for some of her supporting roles, and
Mm.
like critics have, I guess, come around on her in those roles, but it doesn't seem like that's translated into her having starring roles on film, at least. So the director has come out and said after the fact that yeah, it was on him, or she was following his direction in terms of why she played it that way. So I guess I believe it, that
Mhm.
largely her performance was because of the director.
Interesting. That's too bad. Want to get into verdict or?
Yeah, so I already touched on it a little bit. I didn't like this movie. How about you?
I did like it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I thought that the costumes were great. There was a gag dress in the beginning. There was this woman who was like the MC at the Cheetah.
Yeah.
She would come out between acts and tell jokes, and she was supposed to be the comic relief in the Cheetah Club. And she had this dress where if she moved her arms a certain way, her top would come down automatically, and then they would come back up. I thought that was kind of funny. I laughed at that. I thought the soundtrack was good, not exceptional, not as good as 50 Shades, but I didn't hate it. I ultimately kind of thought that the characters are where this movie was a letdown. They should have cut the James storyline and focused more on developing the characters. I thought the directing was fine. There were cool shots. I like the pool scene. And
like
the direction, like I thought that the lighting and the set was cool. The acting in that scene was ridiculous.
It's fine to agree to disagree, I guess.
I thought it was shot cool. Like I thought that the pool set was cool, which if that was what the director told her to do in that scene, then I don't like the directing in that scene. But maybe I like the cinematography more than the directing. But yeah, overall, I liked it more than I thought I would. It's definitely not my favorite Paul Verhoeven movie. I don't think that this was strong satire, but I think that you could make a case that it was satire. And if you look at it through that lens on a rewatch, I think that it is a more enjoyable movie than if you just go in expecting it to be a straightforward story. I expected it to just be smut, so I kind of liked it more than I thought I would. And I think that of the movies we've watched, this to me was a little bit of a hidden gem. Yeah. I think that I would rewatch it. I'd give it 3 stars.
That seems pretty strong. I will say the costume was good. Generally the cinematography and the setting and all that stuff was good. The dancing, like I said, except for that nightclub dancing, seemed strong. The work that Elizabeth Berkley must have done to get ready for this. I can't remember if it said she had any background as a dancer, but kudos. I don't think 6 months or whatever of training would get me anywhere close to any of the people in this movie. So yeah, that's good. I just didn't enjoy it at all. So I will say, since we haven't really touched on this at all, we should give people wording. It's NC-17 for a reason. There's when you talk about costumes, I guess you have to say that the lack of costumes is also a big costume in this movie. There is full frontal nudity throughout.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't research how many scenes or how many minutes of nudity, but let's just assume all. I felt uncomfortable watching this at home alone. Kids better not poke their head in at any point in this movie.
Yeah. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 on the naughty scale.
Yeah.
For the full nudity. And I thought that the lap dance that she gave Kyle MacLachlan's character was way more explicit than the pool sex scene, which is like the famous scene of the movie.
I agree. 8.5 though. What would be a 10?
Well, see, I would have given 50 Shades of Grey a 10 before I saw this, and now I'm like, okay, that's like a 7. So I'm just leaving room for something else.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever cover full-fledged porn on this podcast, so
I'm just giving myself some leeway.
All right, we've got a couple movies to go in Naughty November, but I feel pretty comfortable giving this a 10. I don't think you could get any more so.
Yeah, fair enough.
What are your alternate picks?
I picked Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think that this movie is satire, and so is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. They're both satires set in Las Vegas. Fear and Loathing is more about the death of idealism among Hunter S. Thompson's generation, but perhaps unironically, they both find Las Vegas to be the perfect metaphor for that decay and collapse and self-destructiveness that Americans seem to love. So I picked that for my alternate pick.
I picked 2 movies. One of them, Bound, from 1996, which stars Gina Gershon. And Bound was the Wachowski's siblings' first movie. It came out before Matrix. Have you ever seen it?
No, I have not even heard of it.
It was kind of an indie movie. It stars Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly, and Joey Pantoliano, and it's basically a like con scheme, kind of a crime thriller. And I watched it earlier this year and for the first time, and it was great. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a 5-star movie, but I think it's easy to enjoy. And Gina Gershon, I'd say, like, if I'd only watched Showgirls, I would have questioned her acting ability. I think she kind of plays a little over the top here too. Part of it is because I just didn't understand her character throughout, but Bound, much well done. Then my second I'll pick is Anora from 2024, Best Picture winner, Best Actress, Best Director. Also about somebody that works as a stripper and tries to get a better life. And I think a movie that does a much better job, in my opinion, of putting you in that world and connecting you with the characters. And it also has a lot of nudity. And
if you're into that sort of thing,
well, it's more than about the nudity, but could be a turnoff is all I'm saying. But much better film in my opinion.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think that's about all we have to talk about Showgirls. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on Apple or Spotify or wherever, and shoot us an email at theworstmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you thought this was satire or not satire, or if you thought the pool scene was well directed, like Aaron did, or if you thought it was terrible, like I did.
This is slander.
Is it libel or slander?
Good question.
It is slander. I was just testing you.
Is libel written? Okay. Well, if you didn't take anything else away from this episode, take that.
And I am not a lawyer, so don't fact check my definition.
That's legal advice.
And don't take legal advice. All right. I'm Ade.
I'm Aaron. Thanks for listening to the Worst Movie Podcast.